Okay, I'm going to react to Tommo's predictions to the 2021 Formula 1 season predictions. So he predicted these a year ago, and he's reviewing how he did.
Today's the 13th of December 2021. The season finished yesterday. So now we're going to take a look back down memory lane and see how badly I got things wrong or how good I got them right. I broke the original video into 3 sections. I gave my kind of season awards first, then I looked at the constructor's title, and then I looked at the driver's title. So we're going to start with the awards, giving my most improved driver of 2021. My choice for this one is going to be Esteban Ocon. Now, he didn't have a great start to last year.
SD.
Came good, I felt, towards the end, to be fair. Interesting. So after 2020, he got beaten quite convincingly by Daniel Ricciardo at Renault over the course of the season. But by the end of the year, like I'm saying here, he did do a pretty good job. And you know what? I think Esteban Ocon's a pretty good shout. Alongside Alonso as well, who's going to really light a flame under his arse. And I think Esteban will respond well to that. I really do. And I do really think he did. I think that did light a flame up his backside, and he did a good job this year. He got that win. Obviously, yes, he was very fortuitous to be in that position, but he still brought the dub home. Almost got on the podium at Saudi as well. That was almost making it 2 Alpine podiums in a row. And, qualifying gap to Fernando.
So usually the people have a screen where they put the grades A, B, C, and D. I'm not going to do that, but I'm just going to say what I think his predictions were. So I'm going to give him an A for this one.
And those super close over the course of the year. I'd say that, I actually put out the question on Twitter like last week asking who you thought was the most improved driver, and Ocon was right up there in the mentions. Esteban Ocon.
Okay, so, well, I do agree he did a pretty good job on this. But I have a slightly different take, which doesn't say he's wrong, but it's a different take. So Sergio Perez actually did manage to improve more than anyone else in the field, including Ocon. But it was not an improvement from last year. It's an improvement from the beginning of the year. Last year, Sergio Perez was at his peak. He was really good. And this year, he wrangled that RB Red Bull car and was able to subdue it like no one else could before him. And it was a difficult job. He started out so-so, actually not terribly, but not great. He was not as good as Bottas, but it was still better than his predecessors. And he managed to get that RB to be one of the top cars. He managed to get into the top qualifying by the end of this year, which is a vast improvement over what he started at the beginning. But I'm still giving him an A on this because his improvement was not over last year. He could not have improved any better on the previous car, but he did improve from this year, from a difficult car. So that's my only change.
I'm taking the W on this one. I think I called this quite well. We've got to start with some wins because there are many losses in this video, I assure you. Next, we have fiercest team rivalry. So I'm talking a combination of
Fierce
close
rivalry.
battles. So in terms of points, they'll be pretty similar, battling a lot. And maybe sometimes it kind of blowing over and getting a bit heated, which we didn't really see last year from many teammates. There wasn't really that.
We didn't see too much team drama between teammates this year either. Off the top of my head, I can't think of much happening at all in terms of teammate beef, but we all know who was close.
I'm going to say the Ferrari boys in Charles Leclerc and Carlos
I think
Sainz.
that's a good shout.
Carlos is not going to want to come in there into the Ferrari fold and settle for second place. I don't think so at all. I think he's going to push Charles. I think Charles ain't going to like it, and I think that could get a bit feisty.
I totally agree with him. There were not many rivalries, and maybe there could be someone better than Ferrari as far as team rivalries, but it would only be to a slight degree. So yeah, I agree with him. I'm going to give him an A.
It didn't get to, they kept it together pretty well, but Carlos finished ahead of Charles by the end of the year. Carlos jumped into Ferrari and did a fantastic job, and I think Charles was the better driver over the course of the year, but the context of this being Carlos's first season at that team, especially when you look at how much Seb struggled relative to Charles last year, Carlos Sainz, fantastic job.
And once again, I think I could take a W on this one. I think as fierce teammate rivalries go, yes, you could argue, Ocon and Alonso were probably closer, but Ferrari up there fighting McLaren as well. Both drivers delivering. I think that's a pretty good shout. Now for my flop of the year. And again, I'm kind of categorising this as, if you know, you know. This is where things start to go wrong. If someone's not expected much and they don't do very well, they're not going to be here. Someone who I think a lot of people are expecting, but I don't quite buy it yet. I'm not quite on the hype train. And it's probably because I'll be the first to admit I'm not a fan of him. I don't like the way he conducts himself. Historically, I hope he changes that. It is, of course, Fernando Alonso. Look, he's been out of F1 for a while now. He's the only driver coming in who hasn't been doing regular Formula racing. Look, we all know, okay, I was very wrong on this one. 2 years out the sport, 40 years old, jumping back. I didn't expect him to be as competitive as he was in the past, but proved me wrong. Fair play, Fernando. Smashed it. And 2021 Fernando has been a joy. I've almost kind of liked this version of Alonso speaking his mind. I think because in the past there's been issues within the team, but there's been none of that this year. Fernando's issues have been with outside factors, and I think this year Fernando's been quality on and off track. Very wrong on this one.
Oh yes, I agree with him. He was wrong. I'm gonna grade him a D for that one. I'm surprised he didn't mention who would be the flop of the year. And as much as I love Ricardo, he was the flop. No one expected him to have this much trouble, especially because he did great in an Alpine, which is not a great car, and he beat four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel. So this one was hard to take, and I love you, Danny, but I don't think he's done with. I just think he had a bad year, and I hope the best for next year.
And then my driver of the year, so again, not necessarily the person who finishes top, but who performs the best relative to the... I know what's coming here. I think some of you do as well. I'm going for Daniel Ricciardo. When you take into account, it will be his first season at McLaren. McLaren are making...
Funny you put it. Yeah, that's a terrible. Of course, that's an E or an F. We don't have Fs in Michigan. We have E's, but in about half the states they have F, therefore fail. So yeah, he is an E. He was the flop, the totally opposite, very wrong.
Making steps forward, and he's one of the best drivers on the grid. He's top four drivers for me, Daniel Ricciardo, and I think he's going to snap McLaren like a duck to water, and I think he's going to slap it. Do I think he's going to outperform Norris? I rate Norris very highly, but Ricciardo, for me, is on another level. I think he's going to smash it in McLaren this year. I pray that I'm right, because I'm not. You're not right. You're not. You're so wrong. You're so wrong. That was a tough watch, wasn't it? Look, Daniel did not deliver, especially at the start of the season. Really, really poor form going into this season. Consistently beaten by Lando Norris. Better towards the end of the year, but too little too late. Let's move on from this one. Big red X against Daniel Ricciardo's name for the... Yeah.
That shows that my grading is better than yes, no. So that's why an E is better than a great big X.
The constructors title in P10, I'm putting Haas. Gunter Steiner has been making some very... I'm not going to pat myself on the back for that one. Haas P10 is pretty much where everyone said they'd finish. So we'll just move on to P9, shall we?
So he did a good job in not patting himself on the back, and I agree with that, because it was a given. They were not going to do good. Yeah, it's not a prediction. It's so obvious, and that's what he said. Good job. I'll give him an A for that one. Maybe an A plus for not patting himself on the back.
P9, and I'm not saying Williams. No, I'm saying Alfa Romeo. I think Williams are going to make a big step forward, and I think Alfa are going to stay. That's pretty fair estimation. I think Williams did make a step forward. Yes, Alfa were more consistently flirting with the points over the course of the year, but Williams, I know they delivered in basically 2 races, but got big points when they could in Hungary and at Spa. Alpha finishing P9, just a very bleh season from them, which is, I think, exactly what I said. And then that means Williams will be moving up to P8.
Good prediction. No, not much to say. I'll give him an A for that one.
Again, I back George to
3 out of 3.
actually get points in the Williams next year because I think that car will improve again.
They had a much better year, didn't they, this year? And, you know, Latifi got the points as well. Got to remember, he finished ahead of George in Hungary, so they delivered when they could, when the opportunity arose. Yes, the end of the season's been poor. The start of the season wasn't great, but they capitalised when they could.
I'm going to have to go with AlphaTauri. As much as I really rate Pierre and I really rate Yuki Tsunoda taking a step up.
That's one position lower than they actually finished. They actually finished P6. They were never going to be finishing P7 this year. They were clear of that, but still only one position off. It's not too bad.
Don't think the...
Actually, I disagree with this one. I'm going to give him a C in this prediction and for what he said about it. The AlphaTauri, they are much better than the Minardi, and they were talking about this car last year, and that they had done some really good changes for this year, and it was expected that they would do better. Had Yuki made maybe even half the points that Gasly did, AlphaTauri could have done much better. So all the points are basically from one team member. So you could almost count the points as double of what they actually did.
Package is quite there to consistently get enough points to move them up.
It's one of them where the car package was enough for them to finish higher, but actually because Tsunoda couldn't deliver earlier on in the season, that really inhibited any chance of them beating Alpine in the end for P5.
And then in P6...
What did I give him? I gave him a C. Okay, maybe a B minus. Or a B minus or C. It's good. I mean, AlphaTauri is expected to do better. And they did.
I'm going Aston Martin, what is now Racing Point, which will become Aston Martin Racing.
I remember at the time, this was a pretty controversial take, putting them this low. They actually finished one position lower. They finished P7. I predicted them P6. And I thought, well, let's hear what I thought.
They should have got P3 in the Constructors last year. They really should have. Like, if it wasn't for Stroll missing races, Perez missing races, a lot of bad reliability, they would have definitely beat McLaren to P3. But
isn't it mad to think that Racing Point was clear third best car last year, and regulation nerf really hit Aston Martin bad, didn't it?
And
this was a very good prediction. They were, in fact, the third best team last year. They were, in fact, the third best team last year. And Tommo's prediction was very good, even though he was a little bit off. It was a good prediction considering they were so high. So, A on his prediction, even though he's a little bit off.
Bringing in Seb, who had a very, very poor 2020. There's no guarantee he's going to be successful. I love Seb. He's such a nice bloke. I really want him to do well and kick on. But knowing everything we know, can I confidently say that that's going to happen? No, I cannot.
Seb did outperform Lance over the course of the year, and he outperformed my expectations for this year. To be honest, it was the car. The car just wasn't there for them to deliver.
And in P5, I'm putting Alpine.
Spot on, Tommo. Alpine P5.
I think Esteban's going to have a great season, bringing those points. Again, it's going to be super tight, but I'm saying Alpine P5, which means Ferrari.
So yes, he got it right on. Better than I could have predicted. Good job on Alpine. Give him an A in that one. Maybe an A plus.
In P4. I do think
Ferrari
they're going to
P4.
steps.
Ferrari P4. This is wrong. Of course, they finished P3. But it was between them and McLaren. So, again, only one position off here. Not too bad. Did I get carried away with Ricciardo going to McLaren? Because, you know, they're one of my favourite teams and one of my favourite drivers? Probably.
I think he maybe overestimated Ricciardo, but underestimated Norris. I give him an A for, even though he is off by one, maybe an A minus, because Ferrari and McLaren were pretty much tight throughout the year. And he would have been right at the through a lot of this year. I think his prediction would have been correct. Just at the end, they switched places, McLaren and Ferrari.
Probably guilty of that here. And then that means McLaren P3. Again, Lando, Daniel,
Nope.
and Andreas Seidel.
2 of those components were good this year.
I'm more confident in McLaren P3 than I am any of the previous 4 teams in their positions.
No.
That was being actually hard on himself. He did a pretty good job, I think, and I just reiterate what I just said. So yeah, he did a good job.
Tommo, no, that was wrong.
And then P2, Red Bull, no surprise there. Mercedes, P1. Again, even with Sergio coming in,
it was always going to be difficult for Sergio to jump into that team and do well. By the end,
So yeah, these were not hard to predict, except they could have been backwards, but you got them right.
of the year, I think he was doing better than Bottas, but at the start of the year, Bottas was doing better than Perez. So it was too little too late in the end for Red Bull. The constructors came close, but they both came away with a dub each, didn't they? So ultimately, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 correct. So that means 4 wrong. But of the 4, they were only 1 position off. So I could be happy with that. That's reasonable predictions, I think. Again, I think calling Aston Martin having a bad season was my biggest success from this. And, Williams P8 as well. I think a lot of people were surprised that I put that. But also calling McLaren to be comfortable P3 was definitely the biggest L on this constructor's prediction. But anyway, now on to the drivers where things...
Kind of disagree, not the biggest L, just a little L, little loss. Did a good job putting on it.
in part go terribly wrong here in this video. Enjoy it.
I've put Haas P10, so no surprise. We've got Mazepin P20, Schumacher P19.
So Mazepin P20, it's technically P21 behind Robert Kubica, but obviously I'm not going to factor that in for this video. He did finish P20.
Did I get any points?
And Schumacher finished P19. And again, I'm not going to give myself any credit for that because that's a gift, that one. That prediction was a gift. Mick proved this year he is clear of Nikita, like in race and quali pace. Zero question.
P18, Latifi, again, Williams.
Okay, Nicholas actually finished P17. I predicted him to finish P18, so 1 off. Picked up those points in Hungary. Other than that, would have been a struggle. Probably would have finished P18 if it wasn't for that Hungary result. But fair play to Nicky. You
Off a little bit, but good prediction. Give him an A for that one.
got the points when he needed to.
And then P17,
Okay, maybe a B, but good prediction.
I'm saying Kimi Räikkönen. Again, I feel like his performances kind of fell off towards the end of last year.
Raikkonen 17, actually finished 16. I obviously backed Giovinazzi to do better than Raikkonen, but even though Giovinazzi has consistently outqualified Kimi for most of their time together at Alfa Romeo Sauber, Kimi has always delivered more, if not equal, points to Giovinazzi, and that's exactly what happened this year as well, because clearly in the race he does a better job.
I give him an A. Good prediction, and I feel sorry that Giovinazzi didn't do better. I think he could do better in a better car and maybe out-qualify or outdo Kimi in a better car because he is a good qualifier. So anyway, I'll give Tommo an A on that one too, even though he's a little bit off.
P16, I'm saying Giovinazzi again. Russell Giovinazzi.
Giovinazzi, P16. Nope, he was P18. 2 off there, Tommo. Giovinazzi got himself to Q3 like a few times this year and still managed to finish P18 behind Latifi, who didn't get through to Q3 once. Antonio just wasn't able to convert those results in the races. Such a shame. He's shown promise. I wish him well in Formula E, but I don't think he did enough to properly, stamp his authority on that Alfa Romeo seat this year.
P15, George Russell. I'm saying he'll pick up some points. Which
Russell P15, exactly spot on. And I do think the Alfa Romeo package was better over the course of the season, but George was able to extract Spa, prime example, in the rain, P2.
So I give him an A, but it was expected that he would get a P15, basically because he is a good driver in a bad car. Not a hard prediction, but but good enough for an A.
I don't want to curse it, George. I'm just not going to say anything more, mate.
I didn't curse it.
P14,
It's
I'm
great.
saying Yuki Tsunoda.
And
It's
Yuki
very
Tsunoda's
difficult
spot on as well.
to rate Yuki again. I think that AlphaTauri package.
And again, it was more to do with him than it was the package because Pierre proved that that car was quick. It was a lot to ask of Yuki. Going from F4 to F3 to F2 to F1 in consecutive years. It proved to be the case as well. Pierre driving on such a good level. It was always Pierre, but at least he didn't whitewash him in qualifying.
P13, I'm saying Lance Stroll. As much as I do think he's
Three
improved a lot
correct in a row.
Yeah, A for Tsunoda. Not a hard one, but yeah, he did a good job.
Well done, mate. Nothing to shout about this season. Not amazing, not terrible. But ultimately, he was beaten by
He got it right on. P13, A.
his new teammate. And Lance has been at that team for a while now, so that never reflects particularly well.
P12, I'm saying Fernando Alonso.
Okay.
Again, I hope I'm wrong.
So, I mean, look, I said Fernando flop of the year. P12, yeah, it's 2 places off. He finished P10 in the end. So it's not like I absolutely hammered him. Again, it was just, for me, expectation of Fernando was incredibly high. And I was like, nah, he's not going to get to those levels. He did. Fantastic result from this year. Better than I thought he'd be. What more can I say?
P11,
Yeah, he got a like a C. And I couldn't have done much better. I don't know if I would have rated him as high as he's done this year. So Fernando did a good job, unexpected. C for that prediction, as good as I would have done.
I'm saying Gasly. Again,
Gasly P11.
an amazing driver, an incredibly talented young man.
2 places off. He finished P9 in the end. I said P11. And again,
Now, this was a bad prediction. As I mentioned before, his car was expected to do better. He won a race last year and was doing really good last year, even after winning. It's not a fluke that he won. So yes, I expected him to do better. I expected him to do great. I think he did do great. So this is an F as far as predictions.
that car was better than I thought it would be. That's the long and the short of it. If Tsunoda was operating at Pierre's levels throughout the season, they would have finished ahead of Alpine in P5 in the Constructors.
P10, I'm putting Seb. I think he will rediscover some of that.
Seb, so actually, yeah, Seb finished 2 places lower than I predicted he would. And again, I do remember getting some stick for this. People are like, yeah, you've ranked Seb too low. Well, actually, he finished 2 places lower than I predicted him. So actually, who was really wrong? But no.
So yeah, I give him an A, maybe a B. He predicted it that Seb would be lower, and he was lower. So good job. You predicted wrong, but not terribly wrong. So yeah, I'll give you a B on that one.
Seb this year, I think, has performed very well. He's done better than Stroll for sure. But again, it's the car that's got in the way of him and Lance finishing as well as maybe they should have.
Esteban Ocon P9. Again, I think he's going to have a very strong year. That he's
Ocon P9, 2 off there. Again, we've got the right drivers here. They're just kind of jumbled up in the wrong order. And Esteban didn't have as good a season as I was hoping. That purple patch in the middle. If you take away that and put in some consistent points finishes. Did he have a crack in his chassis? Did that kind of inhibit his chances of doing better? Probably, maybe. But all in all, good season from Esteban. Not quite as good as I predicted, though.
I'll give him a B on that one. If I had predicted it, I probably would have predicted lower. So he did a pretty good job with his predictions. So a B.
P8, Carlos Sainz, and P7, Charles Leclerc.
Ooh.
2 Ferrari boys will be there.
So it's a L followed by a W here. Carlos Sainz, 3 places off. He actually finished P5, getting that P3 at the end of the year. Fantastic season, fantastic debut season for Carlos Sainz. Jumped into that Ferrari, took to it like a duck to water, which a certain other driver, who we haven't yet mentioned, didn't.
So yes, I may have predicted the same on this one, so I'm going to give him a B, even though he got it wrong. Maybe a C. Yeah, I'll give him a C. But hard to do better than this prediction.
When they joined their team. But yeah, fantastic from Carlos. I didn't anticipate he'd do as well. I thought he'd do well, but I didn't think he'd do this well. So credit to him. But Leclerc, spot on. He was P7. I predicted P7, and he was. But
An A. Good job.
That's kind of lucky because I predicted Leclerc to finish ahead of Sainz and he finished 2 positions behind his teammate. So
P6, Lando Norris. I think he's
well done.
just
P6.
Yeah, we knew Lando would do well. So get an A for that one. Not a hard A. I mean, not difficult to make an A on that one. But yeah.
Last year was good. Last year was even better. I think going into next year could be even better. It'll be his 3rd year in Formula 1.
Lando was so good this year. So good, especially at the start of the year. I know the results trickled off towards the end of the season, but I think his performances were top tier throughout the bulk of this season. Could have got that win in Russia. Maybe should have got that win in Russia. It's a bad strategy call from him and the team ultimately. Incredible year this year. Convincingly outclassed his teammate, who we still haven't mentioned yet because we all know that one's coming up, don't we?
P5. I'm saying Sergio Perez. Now, Perez.
Ooh, controversial. Well, look, I mean, Perez was sitting P5 for a long time this year. I almost called this result if Lando's point scoring finishes hadn't dropped off towards the end of the year because he was sitting P5 for most of the season, Sergio Perez. And
Yeah, not bad. You get a B for that one. It's a difficult one to call. Perez really upped his game at the end, even though it wasn't that bad at the beginning. So yeah, what did I give you? Anyway, it's a C.
behind a McLaren, just the wrong McLaren. Sergio's performances by the end of the year stepped up in race to a really, really good level, but it did take a lot of time at the start for him to get used to that car, and qualifying was always a problem. It put him too far back to then have to recover, you know what I'm saying?
Do I think Sergio will do a better job than Alex did, than Pierre did in that Red Bull? Yes, because he's a much more experienced driver. He's a better driver, if you ask me, than both.
I agree. Well, I don't know about better. The problem was that Perez has the experience to be able to wrangle a car as difficult as the RB. Raw talent, Albon and Gasly may actually be slightly better, but without their experience, they didn't know how to wrangle that RB so that they could drive it well. And Perez did.
Of them.
He is.
But
Maybe
there is
not
clearly,
Gasly.
you can't ignore the fact that there's clearly an issue with that second car at Red Bull. You can't ignore how Pierre was so bad and then was so good in the AlphaTauri. Look, Sergio's been at the same team for 7
hearing
years
facts here.
at Force India / Racing Point / Aston Martin.
only hearing
Now it's a
facts.
whole new thing, a whole new team around him. As good as Sergio is, I
is.
do think he's not going to be quite as amazing fairy tale as a lot of people.
I've only heard facts there. Yeah, I remember going into last year, some people saying, oh, Sergio's going to show Max up, and it just never came close to happening. Sergio did a better job than his predecessors, but still not on the level of Max Verstappen.
I'm putting in P5.
I love Sergio, but yeah, I never expected him to be to top Max. And even people who say he would, I don't think they really believe that. But yeah, great job, Sergio. Excellent. I love this guy. He just made Formula One such a fun thing to watch.
But not so much for him doing bad, but the fact that I think Daniel Ricciardo will be P4 because Daniel Ricciardo is going to slap it up, mate. I've got so much faith in Daniel Ricciardo delivering the goods.
Oh, God. Really? I actually said that. Oh. Daniel didn't slap it up. He got slapped up.
Yes, honestly, I probably would have made the same prediction. Sometimes I say I do better than him. This time, I probably would have made the same prediction, or worse. I think Daniel's such a good driver. Has been such a good driver throughout his career, that he was expected to do better, and I hope he will. So yeah, I'm gonna give him a C, which is the grade I would have gotten to.
Very different things. I've already talked about it. 4 places off. He finished P8 in the end. Let's move on.
All right, top 3 time. Last year went risky. I put Verstappen P1.
Final 3.
Not so much because I doubted Lewis, just because I thought it was a great opportunity for it's going to be Valtteri P3, Verstappen P2, Lewis P1, isn't
Bottled it.
Max should have beaten Valtteri.
To be fair, if it wasn't for Nicholas Latifi,
These were not hard to predict. I would give him an A, but since they're not right, I'm going to give him a B. That's a pretty good grade. And he has valid points coming up next.
Be bidding it into the wall in Abu Dhabi, and Michael Mass's creative interpretation of the rulebook. This is how it would have finished. This could have easily happened. Bottas was third. It went down to the wire, as we all know. Max Verstappen came out on top. It's funny, my 2020 predictions, I predicted Verstappen to win the title. And then 21, I predicted Lewis. I just got it the wrong way around. So I've mispredicted the title winner 2 years on the spin now. And going into next year, who bloody knows? That's the problem. I'm probably going to have to hold off this video, this new predictions video 2022 until testing, because we've got literally nothing to go on. Like, it could be Haas who are the best car next year. Like, it actually could be. There we have it. The 20 drivers,
You didn't.
the 10 teams, and
There
most
we
improved.
go.
This is rivalry.
Right. Let's have a look. I mean, look, okay, so the biggest L's, me being really confident in McLaren getting P3 and just Ricardo generally. Fernando Alonso, very wrong on that front. Sainz as well, big underestimation from Carlos Sainz. These lot were close on points, 6, 7 and 8, but yeah, definitely wrong on Fernando. And obviously the title winner. But then on the success
Oh, he's got driver of the year, Ricardo. That's kind of like the flop of the year.
front, I think predicting Aston Martin to have a poor season, pretty good. Predicting Williams to not finish last, not finish ninth either, pretty good. Rivalry and most improved as well, Ferrari and Ocon, I'd say pretty good on that. And generally speaking, apart again from Sainz and Ricardo, my predictions weren't miles. I mean, I got 8 correct. Is that good?
It's pretty good.
I don't know if that's good. Maybe I haven't looked at anyone else's prediction reaction yet. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with how I've done.
That was pretty good.
Not too bad.